In 2007, Netflix first started streaming movies and TV shows in the United States.
They even search for children's movies based on age. That's you, Pinocchio.
Only a few years later, it was introduced in Canada, Latin America, the Caribbean, and several European countries. Netflix finally launched in Australia this year, but its 2.2 million subscribers continue to notice its lack of content and variety in comparison to the United States version. Courtney Blackwell is an Australian Netflix user who spent 4 months in America this year, where she had the chance to compare both versions.
I guess the main difference between the two, the Australian and the American version, would be the content. So they have a lot different shows. I guess the American version has every show that the Australian version has, but more. So it is a lot better.
When Netflix was released in Australia, it was revealed that US subscribers could access 6 times more content than Australian subscribers could. To this day, Australia has less content than any other country that has access to Netflix.
The American version was out first and we're a bit behind on the times, so it just has a lot more on there.
The Australian version has since released more TV shows and movies, but the US continues to beat it by releasing new content that Australia probably won't see for months, years, or even at all.
My favourite thing about the American version was you didn't have to wait months and months for something to come out. It would just already be there, so your favourite shows were ready to watch. I think it's really unfair that Australia is behind America with Netflix, just because everything is so up to date these days, especially with the internet.
Because Australia takes so long to introduce new TV shows and movies, many people resort to using a VPN, which is legal and allows them to bypass geographic blocks. They can then access the US version at any time. Erin Blackwell is one of these people.
I prefer to watch Netflix on the TV, but the Australian version doesn't have as much things as the American version, so I use a VPN to watch it on my laptop or the computer.
Why is Australia so far behind in releasing content, and why is existing content so limited? Well, many creators grant streaming service providers with a license to distribute their productions in the US only. There may be pre-existing deals with Australian TV networks and pay TV operators that need to be respected. Australians, however, still don't think it's fair.
I think it's annoying and unfair how the Australian version has nowhere near as much stuff as the American version is, and because I have access to both, I can see the difference.
Here in Australia, we have one of the top piracy rates in the world. By giving us updated content, Netflix has the chance to rectify these issues. However, they make it worse by leaving us behind.
If there was a show I really wanted to watch that was on American Netflix and not Australian, I guess I would just download it illegally.
It's much easier for people to download things illegally than it is to pay a subscription fee for a service that's several months behind. US Netflix fees are also cheaper than Australian fees. If we consider the currency exchange rate, some Australian fees end up being cheaper, but not by so much that the Australian version should be excused for its lack of content.
I would try anything for us to get more content on the Australian Netflix before we go and do stuff illegally. But if we can't do that, then there's no other choice.
If the Australian service doesn't improve, people might turn to streaming rivals such as Presto, Stan, QuickFix and Foxtel Play. The laws and regulations preventing Australians from accessing these things should change. After all, we won't be the only ones who benefit from them. If we can catch up to the US, Netflix will gain even more subscribers. So what's stopping us?